As we've been noting, the March 23rd vote is primarily a referendum of sorts on whether Prime Minister Netanyahu should continue his record run of 12 straight years in the premiership. Now, earlier today, the Prime Minister sat down with correspondent Matthias Inbar from our sister French channel at i24NEWS to make the case for his staying on. Also, of course, speaking out on other key issues. Here's that interview in full.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, thank you very much for being our guest now in 24 News.
Bonjour, pourquoi pas en français?
Comme vous voulez, si vous voulez en français.
Alors, tu parles anglais, moi I'll answer in English, mais quelquefois en français aussi.
Okay, so my first question, actually simple. Weren't you supposed to be today in Abu Dhabi?
No, actually not. But we were supposed to have a visit a few days ago. It was. It wasn't facilitated because of a problem we had with Jordan and the airspace. We solved it. It's interesting that everybody asked this question and they said, oh, you didn't have this visit today or the next day. Who would have imagined a year ago that we'd have any formal visits in the Emirates, or for that matter in Morocco or in the Sudan or in Bahrain? It's because of the revolution that I brought forward of peace for peace, and not peace for for uprooting 100,000 Israelis, which would be no peace. It's a different concept. I led it, and there are four more peace treaties waiting.
Who are they?
Well, given that we now have peace with 6 Arab nations, okay, and now I'm saying another 4, there are not that many left. I tell you, one of them is not going to be Syria in the near future.
Saudi Arabia, maybe? You know, just 2 of us are listening. Probably, what did you talk with Prince Crown in no? And actually, the question...
I didn't say I talked to him.
You know, 10 days ago, we asked you on i24 News our exclusive pact of defense between Saudi, Israel, Bahrain, and Emirates. Would I have the confirmation today that there is a pact of defense?
No, I would say that something else. I think, without referring to specific countries, I think that the change that we see in the Middle East is brought about by the rise of 2 powers, the rise of Iran and the rise of Israel. The rise of Israel is under a policy that I've worked diligently during my years as Prime Minister to strengthen Israel economically through free market economics that support the rise of our strengthening Israel militarily through intelligence, through technology. And the combination of the 2 strengthens Israel diplomatically, because all the countries in the world want our technology, and many countries in the region want our military strength against the rising threat of Iran. This is what is producing the change. The fact that I'm leading really the worldwide campaign against the arming of Iran with nuclear weapons has brought many, many Arab countries close to us, because they too are threatened by Iran. And also they want to benefit for their own peoples, the benefits of technology, the benefits of innovation. And what is going now on with the Emirates and Bahrain is unbelievable, because it's now been transformed from just the peace of leaders to the peace of peoples. And you see this fantastic speed, breakneck speed in which business deals are done between Gulf entrepreneurs and Israeli entrepreneurs. It's mind-boggling.
So there will be a pact. That's it. Let's talk about the COVID-19, actually. You know, a lot of new immigrants from France used to vote for you, for Likud. Don't you think that after a year of pandemic, after a lot of lockdowns, and especially political mess regarding the closure of the airports, would push them probably to vote for Yamina?
First of all, understand, we have performed a miracle. A country that is 1% of the world's population receives the vaccines before all the other countries with tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and even a billion citizens. We are first. This is a miracle. Understand that this miracle is something that I brought forward because of my leadership, my standing with the international community, and my, as Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer, says, my obsession. I'm obsessive about the health of my citizens tous les Israéliens, les Français, Israéliens, Kulam, Haredim and secular and left and right and Jewish and Arab, everyone. So I work to bring this. This is the only real solution to the pandemic. All the others talk. They talk. We do. And in fact, we did what 200 leaders in the world were not able to do. But this is just the beginning. We're emerging out of World War III. People don't understand the historic turning point that we're in. For the last 100 years, we had two world wars, World War I and World War II, in which we had no state, and our people paid a terrible price. But now we experience World War III against a virus that attacked all of mankind, all of humanity. And we are emerging from it victorious, but the world has changed. Travel has changed. Economies are changed. Who will lead us into this new world? I intend to make Israel a power of vaccine, a vaccination nation, not merely by receiving vaccines, by producing them. And imagine that Israel is a key supplier in the supply chain of vaccines. This is what I have in mind. Changing also the economy to structure it for the post-corona world. Who's going to do that? It's Yair Lapid, who has no experience, no understanding, or the others who talk, but they are not. They're people with ambition, but they don't have the receipts, the kabbalot, the actions, the achievements, and the capabilities that I bring. And I intend to see this through and make Israel a powerhouse in the world post-corona, especially our economy.
And do you regret the fact that on i24NEWS you proposed French President Emmanuel Macron to receive a green passport? Until then, he didn't answer.
Well, so he doesn't, but you know, the whole world wants our green passport. They want us to come. Israel now has an open door in every country around the world. Just about every country around the world. I'm not sure about North Korea and Syria, okay? But although we visit Syria without passports, as you know, we have that.
You're by yourself?
Well, when I was young, yes, when I was in the army. But now I make sure that we have the freedom of action in the air to do whatever, or on the ground, to do whatever we need to do to safeguard our security, and I do that. You have to ask, who will take care of our economy? Who will take care of open travel? You said, you know, the airport was closed. Yes, it's closed. It's closed, but we now enabled flights to come from everywhere, including from Paris, but of course in a limited amount, because we don't want the variants to come in. But there won't be another lockdown. There won't be, I hope, do you understand why?
Why?
Why did countries put lockdowns in place in the first place? Because they want to avoid the seriously ill that can overload the hospitals. And then governments will have to choose who will live and who will die, who will get a respirator, who will not. Nobody wants to be there, so you put lockdowns to prevent the spread of the general disease, so you don't have the hard cases coming to the hospitals and overloading them. In Israel, we did something that no one has done. We have vaccinated already over 90% of the population over 50, where 100%, almost 100% of the seriously ill come from. So we have no more, there are no more candidates for seriously ill, and you can see the numbers dropping every day, every day. It was 1,200, then 1,100, then 800, it's now below. It's now approaching 500. This means that we will not have another lockdown. It's not as, oh, they're planning another lockdown after the elections, they're just not telling you. No, we got rid of it. And our airports will still be remained for 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, even after the decision, which I think was a bad decision, of the Supreme Court. We have to maintain distances. So the airport has a limited capacity. We'll avoid variants. No more lockdowns. You're going to have Pesach. Vaccination nation.
You know what security is? And some military expert told me that if Hezbollah is striking us, we don't need to strike back South Lebanon. That time, you will lead a strike against Iran directly. Would you confirm?
I'll confirm that 95% of our security problems emanate from Iran. And Hezbollah without Iran, without the scaffolding of Iran, will collapse on the spot. So I've made it my point to prevent Iran from having nuclear weapons. And Iran knows. Iran really doesn't want me to win, believe me. Facebook revealed that Iran was supporting the demonstrations against me. I don't think it makes a difference, but it just tells you what they think. They think that Israel under my leadership will prevent them from having nuclear weapons. And as long as I'm Prime Minister, they won't have nuclear weapons, and we can deal with their proxies. Hezbollah and Hamas, they understand that my policy says that if you're going to strike at us, we'll strike at you and make you pay, but often before you even have an opportunity to attack us. And that's why Israel has the safest years under my leadership. Again, it's not an accident. But I think the real question is, who will lead Israel now at this historic juncture? Now, many people say, well, I'll vote for Bennett to strengthen you. You're not strengthening me. You're strengthening Lapid, because Bennett refuses to say that there won't be a rotation. He wants to be Prime Minister. I don't know how, with 8, 10, even 15 seats, which he won't have. He has to go to Bennett or to Gideon Sa'ar. Together they'll have 20 seats. By the way, Sa'ar is collapsing, so he's irrelevant. But when they have those seats, then he has to make a government with Lapid, because with me, no rotation. So he has to make a government with Lapid, with Merav Michaeli, with Meretz, that is scandalously supporting this ICC decision to hold our soldiers and commanders as war criminals for defending us. That's outrageous. This is the coalition you can have, this scrambled eggs of rotations of people who don't have the capacity or the experience to lead. We can't afford it. We need a stable right-wing government that will take care of all the citizens of Israel, and only I and the Likud can bring this. So if you vote for me, you will get Bennett in a respectable position as a minister in my government. If you vote for Bennett, you'll get him in a position as a minister in Lapid's government. Choose.
You already said that, and my last question will be, Prime Minister, you are surprised, you like surprise. 4 days before the vote, what would you bring to Israel?
Surprise?
Yeah.
I think in fact, the citizens of Israel understand that I'm the one who can bring stability and continuity, and more important than that, bring this to new heights. And I think the surprise that I'm seeing is actually this. I see a lot of people moving from Likud, even though the mainstream media is so hostile, it's so biased. Apparently, reality is punching through. And I see a lot of people moving to Lapid. We can see this in our polls, and even in some of the public polls, you can see this. This movement of people from Gideon, from Bennett, they're moving to us because they know that only we can bring this stable right-wing government.
So no international surprise until Tuesday?
Well, no. If you're talking about surprise visits, you'll have to wait. There'll be, as I said, 4 more peace treaties, which we will bring. And remember this. You know, people laughed when I said this last time, a year ago. Nobody would have believed it, right? Well, I'm telling you now, and wait a year, you'll see more peace treaties. But the most important thing that you'll see is that I will lead the Israeli economy to be the fastest growing Western economy, and perhaps the fastest growing economy in the world post-corona. It's already happening now. The Times of London said the surprise tourist destination, 3 days ago they published this, the surprise tourist destination post-corona, Israel. Why? Because we brought so many vaccines that it's a safe, sunny country with wonderful beaches, by the way. So we'll see you in Israel. If you're listening to me and you're not here, come here, and maybe we'll arrange vaccination tourism.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Premier Ministre. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister.
Merci. Thank you.